Unfortunately, Melissa was not able to make the session, so I will run through it from my side. So quite a heavy title for the slide, but how regenerative farming and carbon removals and life cycle assessments are shaping the future of the palm and the stone fruit industry. So I'm going to be talking about two trends today that we are observing in supply chains. What are the drivers for these trends? What evidence do we see for them? And then what are the implications for strategy? So there's two trends. They operate at different ends of the supply chain. The one is at farm level, and the other trend that we're seeing is in the market. So the first trend at farm level, we called it the regenerative trend. So it's just this movement from farms from a more conventional farming approach to incorporating regenerative agricultural practices on the farm. Just basically leveraging the natural self-regulating capacity of healthy ecosystems. And the second trend is the measurement. We call it the measurement trend in the market side of the supply chain. Trend is a bit of a weak word here. This is more of a revolution. There's a lot of momentum happening and things coming from a lot of different angles on the side. But basically, buyers, regulators, and other stakeholders increasingly want verified measurement of impact. And we'll unpack a bit exactly what that means. And they are prepared to act on these numbers. So think about a traditional compliance approach. It's just not measuring up anymore. They want kind of beyond compliance proof, evidence, impact. They want to see that, not just a certificate. Okay, so what are the drivers for these trends? So on the regenerative trend, what is making farms embark on this journey? So the first one is just being pushed by a crisis, something like a prolonged drought, soil that's fundamentally depleted, or the long-term viability of the farmers in doubt. So these farmers would be saying, we can't keep on doing this. Something's got to change. A second driver for this trend is just the economics, being squeezed by that. So rising input costs, which is really relevant at the moment with the Iran war and diesel and fertilizer prices going up. And then you aren't often not able to pass these costs onto the consumer. So you get this cost price margin squeeze. And then also a shrinking crop protection toolbox that you have available. So these farms would say the numbers have just stopped working. And then the last trend that we are seeing, or driver that we are seeing, is just farms that's being inspired by stewardship. It's a very different angle, but they're looking at ecological health as the basis of their long-term viability. These farms see the farm more than just a business. There's very strong elements of family, workers, community, society in there, and these farms would be saying there's much more at stake than just this season. So on the other side of supply chain, on the measurement trend or revolution, what you want to call it, is this movement from standards compliance to measurable impact. The drivers there is just there's a credibility gap that has been exposed that retailers and on the other side of the supply chain are experiencing. So for them, a snapshot audit doesn't show real change or impact. It's just a static picture. There's no signal of continuous improvement. What are those actions being implemented to make things better? And then practices that are ticked, if you think about all these control points on a standard, doesn't deliver the outcome that you are actually after, that change on the ground. So they're kind of saying this snapshot is proving nothing. That inherent risk for us is still in the supply chain. There's also, they are seeing real crises. They are sourcing from all over the world, so they might see, let me get into it, but there's this accelerating biodiversity loss and deforestation, well documented for them, real risk. There's also this, most farming happens in rural settings, so you've got the socio-economic challenges that's persistent. That's a risk for them. And then just this unabated climate change and extreme weather that I was referring to earlier, but these supply chains all over the world, it's not isolated incidents, there's a trend that they're seeing. So for them, these are real crises. It's going to affect the availability of the fruit and the volumes and the quality. And they want to see what are the real impacts that's happening on the ground to mitigate this. And they want to see the evidence of these things being implemented to make sure that that risk is being addressed. There's also a strategic need on their side. So away from this very static picture, they would like real-time, dynamic, credible reporting. This proactive risk management and sourcing decisions that they want, they would like information for that. And they would also like to collaborate across supply chains. So there are shared risks and challenges in these supply chains that if they know about them and that can be addressed together with other partners. So basically what they're saying is what we can't see, we can't influence, and we can't manage. So they want visibility. Good, so the evidence that we are seeing for these two trends. So firstly on the regenerative trend, just fundamental changes on the ground. A lot more cover crops and mulches being used. That's now kind of the standard for leading farms. Things like multi-species cover crops and the way farmers are going about it, it's getting more sophisticated every year. It's a lot of learning. Compost extracts, having living roots in the soil. And just basically putting soil health as the fundamental center of that farm, and everything evolves around that, and livestock being integrated into orchard systems. From a capability point of view, we just see a lot of knowledge that's deepening at farm level around the subject. So pioneering farms are investing in in-house regen expertise. A lot of things like study tours aboards, specialist soil health courses, regen symposia, peer review networks, scientific collaboration, and then just this deep context-specific knowledge that is developing quite rapidly. And we'll come back, certain principles are generic, but the implementation of those principles is quite unique in terms of a farm. And then what is the impact of this? So you get soils with higher water holding capacity, less irrigation, seeing wildlife and biodiversity returning, reduce synthetic inputs, chemicals, and then also reducing associated costs. And then just the skill and operator capability growing at all levels in that farm, from the worker right through to management and owners. So these are just, I'm not going to run through this whole slide. It's maybe there for you can look at a bit into this afterwards, but those regen practices, just maximum the amount of period with living roots in the soil, reducing mechanical and chemical disturbance, keeping the soil surface covered with mulches and cover crops, increased diversity on the farm and the landscape. So in the orchard, it's important to have the diversity there, but also those natural areas that sits around the orchard. And then integrating livestock into the cropping system, and just the impacts that this has at the ecological level and at social level, and then at the economic level. So at the other end of the supply chain, the measurement trend, what are we seeing there? So just this, the pace and the demand for this is really, really strong. So talking about corporate carbon footprints and demand for scope 1, 2, and 3 calculations, science-based targets that needs to be set for these carbon footprints. This is an extremely strong trend in the wine industry, and it's influencing market access already. Removals accounting. So this is something that farms have been asking for a long time. We've got all this carbon on the farm. How can we measure this? How can we show this against our carbon footprint? Those type of methodologies was quite soft, but they've been the latest methodologies that was released by the Greenhouse Gas Protocol is really strong, and we now have the tools to do this. There's also a project that Natasha referred to in Holdco around measuring carbon removals. Increased requests for outcome-based certification. Again, control points, and just ticking those control points is not good enough. We need evidence of that outcome that was actually achieved on the farm. So you'll hear more about ecological outcome verification. And then just more platforms, things like Mondra, Sakaro, reporting platforms that we're seeing in the market. In terms of the scope from retailers, just if things are moving beyond carbon, very important drivers at the moment is water and biodiversity, and then human health aspects also coming in. And this is measured through that LCA methodology. It looks at all of these things. Expanding scope for product level reporting. So PEFAS, product environmental footprint, is under the EU legislation, and EPD means environmental product declaration. So things that's written into regulation, and things like product category rules. How should you go about measuring this to make sure that we and other Southern Hemisphere countries or our competitors, that everybody does it the same way, and you can actually compare these results with one another. So also that science has really moved forward and is now mainstream. And then expanding scope from science-based approaches. I talked about science-based targets for carbon. There's also science-based targets for nature, and it really revolves around water and biodiversity. And then those data-driven insights I referred to earlier. These audit-based snapshot doesn't show the trends in the risk and in the progress in the challenges that farms are experiencing. It's just a very static certificate that a retailer would see, nothing of the detail that's behind that. And what they require is this dynamic data-driven dashboard for informing their procurement strategies and then enabling informed decision-making around and supporting resilient supply in that supply chain. How can they get involved? You're going to have challenges everywhere you go. It's about helping and a shared approach in terms of addressing those challenges. It's not about just jumping to a different supply chain. There's going to be other issues there. And then, so what are the implications of these two trends for strategy? So I think it's important just to say that these two trends, you shouldn't be seeing them in isolation. They kind of talk to one another. So the first trend was that market demand for data-driven, credible, measured impact, way beyond compliance. And the second one is this regenerative agriculture as a system that can actually deliver this impact that the market is looking for. And that would then go across the environmental aspects, the social and human aspects, and the business and supply chain aspects. It addresses all of the full scope of sustainability. So now, into the strategy. How can we think about this stuff? So if you think about a matrix with two axes, you've got a y-axis. This is where we look at measurement maturity, that market trend. So you've got low measurement maturity or high measurement maturity. You can kind of think about your own businesses as we go through this. On the x-axis, you've got this regenerative agriculture adoption, from low adoption to high adoption. And that gives us then 4 quadrants that we can look at. So we'll start at the bottom left-hand quadrant, what we call the no future quadrant. So nothing is changing in either one of these two axes or direction. So there's a resistance in terms of market data and a market requests. There's also a resistance in terms of changing practices on the farm. We do it like we've always been doing it. There's going to be reduced market access because of that, and also reduced resilience on the farm. For export-oriented producer, this would just be a lose-lose situation. If you look at the top left-hand quadrant, what we call compliance theater, so everything is measured, but nothing is really changing or transforming. Precise measurements, but no change. The farm sees these audits and standards as a lot of tick boxes, a lot of control points, but there's no benefit for the farm in the long term. It's just about compliance, and then it goes back onto the shelf. And this almost compounds this audit fatigue, because you're doing a lot of effort and work, but there's really nothing valuable coming out of it for the farm, and it's just causing frustration. On the bottom right-hand side is what we call lost opportunity. So there's some real good work that's happening on ground level at the farm, but this is not visible to the supply chain or the market. So good intent, but without the commercial benefit in terms of market access and programs and so forth. There's no feedback loop also for the farm internally, because they're not measuring. So how can you kind of guide yourself on this journey? And then the top right-hand, what we call the opportunity zone. So this is where regenerative agriculture practices and this verified outcomes and impact is working together. So if there's better performance with more credible feedback, you are able to provide products to the market that they want and with the proof that they require. And just builds resilience in terms of the performance on the farm, but also market access. It's become more resilient because of that. And then my last slide, just what are the 5 strategic kind of actions that you could take out of this? So the first is using this matrix just to frame your thinking. Where are you on this matrix today? What does this imply? Where do you aspire to be? And then let that gap guide your strategy from there. The second is to get your baseline measurements in place. It could be around carbon, soil, biodiversity, or water. Carbon is a very good place to start, but start narrower and then broaden it from there. And you can't manage, defend, or promote what you haven't measured. That's going to be the message for the future. And then start with the orchard floor. So introduce diversity into a monoculture. Ground covers is the first key step towards a solar-powered orchard and soil health. Small steps, learn as you go, and build your regenerative journey from there. Again, it's those principles are generic, but the application of that. Engage your buyer in impact measurement. So proactively measure, report, and engage. You have the data you need. Understand the priority impact areas and then measure these. Be in the conversation and don't get measured against the conversation. And proactive measurement of your own business is becoming the best defense for you against these standards and requirements. And then lastly, invest in the people and the knowledge. So Regen principles are universal, but the implementation is local with your team. Your own microclimate, your type of soils, your commodities and crops and varieties that you have. Your context is everything. Knowledge needs to be developed in-house, and then find regional peers that you can learn from. And this is a major opportunity for skills development and career growth for people on farms. Thank you very much.